Will Steve Rogers be able to save a Marvel universe that has so thoroughly turned away from the heroic ideals? Or is his revolution already over before it's even started? Well, let's hop into the pages of Avengers Twilight issue number 2 and find out together, shall we? So then, at the end of the last issue, you'll recall that an elderly Steve Rogers had been re-empowered using a brand new super soldier serum, allowing him to be the Star-Spangled Man once again. And oh boy, is he 110% making up for lost time, taking the fight directly to the jackbooted thugs of New S.H.I.E.L.D., who as we join this newest issue are actively trying to tase a homeless man to death. Also, speaking of New S.H.I.E.L.D., I didn't quite clock it in the previous issue, but their logo is a little different now. It's red tinged instead of silverish white. It's still an eagle in a shield, only this eagle looks more like an iron eagle. Keep that in mind because I promise it's actually going to be important later. We check back in with Steve at the secret headquarters of the Defenders, the last bastion of freedom fighters in the Marvel Universe. They've been doing their best to combat New S.H.I.E.L.D., but even with Captain America on their side, everything still seems to be a losing battle, mainly because despite their evil ways, New S.H.I.E.L.D. has actually gone out of their way to craft a happy and comfortable illusion for everyone in America, one wherein elections still happen, where there's still Avengers. It's just all of those things are a sham. We actually learn a little bit more about the Watcher laws in this issue. You'll recall in the last issue they mentioned that the Watcher laws outlawed all filming on the grounds of invading personal privacy. Though really it was just cooked up so average citizens couldn't see all the horrible atrocities being committed by this new regime, both by the New S.H.I.E.L.D. foot soldiers at home as well as the brand new mysterious Avengers team who's committing war crimes all over the world. This whole comfortable illusion versus stark reality thing actually ends up coming for Steve in a major way when his wife Rosa is brought to the Defenders HQ. Her life has basically been blown up by the fact that Steve chose to go back to being a superhero and a freedom fighter without consulting her. She can never go home again, she can never go back to work, and while she's not a terrible person and agrees to help patch up the Defenders members given her medical knowledge, she says that her and Steve are over romantically, and I mean honestly, can you blame her? She didn't ask for any of this, and while Steve is certainly doing the right thing right now, it's a very sad truth of being a superhero is that the people around you are often hurt when you try and do the right thing. And sadly, only more people are going to get hurt as Steve's actions as the brand new resurfaced original Captain America have actually reached the ears of the regime's leaders. The president has himself a one-on-one sit-down with his #1 weapons manufacturers, Jimmy Stark, and his guardian, Jarvis the butler's never-before-seen younger brother. However, Jarvis ends up completely turning this whole conversation on the president when he tries to big dog him. He says that it was Stark money who got this guy elected and that the Secret Service and the military are all currently outfitted with cutting-edge Stark tech weapons and armor, meaning that at the end of the day, the president's really just America's mascot, while Jarvis and Jimmy are themselves the true CEOs of America. The country runs on Stark after all. As far as what will be done about Captain America, at first they consider recalling the Avengers to deal with this problem, but at the last second figured that that might be a little too extreme, not when they can go a little bit more covert by using the Thunderbolts. But what do the Thunderbolts actually look like in this dark dystopian future? Well, actually kind of interesting. The organization has been completely absorbed by the American government, and now they're made up of half elite soldiers. And get this, half the children of famous supervillains were actually introduced to Bullseye's daughter, who's actually every bit as good a shot as her old man. Oh, but Bullseye's not the only old name from the past who ends up getting reinvoked in this story too. You'll remember in the last issue, Cap had talked about reassembling the Avengers. Well, his first port of call is actually none other than Kamala Khan Miss Marvel, who we see now is a middle-aged woman with 2 children of her own. Kamala, much like Rosa, is living a comfortable life these days, still dealing with the horrors of H-Day, and on the surface at least completely buying into everything New S.H.I.E.L.D. is selling. Well, at first, Steve isn't stupid. He was sure to do his homework, and he knows full well from the Defenders that stories have been circulating all over the city of people in need being saved by a giant hand. But he also knows asking Kamala to come out of retirement when she has a family and 2 young children is a pretty huge ass, especially considering that he just torpedoed his own civilian life. So he's not gonna make Miss Marvel do anything that she doesn't want to do. Now, what exactly is Cap and the Defenders' big plan to try and take down New S.H.I.E.L.D. and stick it to the man? Well, they know the government controls basically all live media feeds now. So the only way that they're going to be able to wake up the masses as to the horrible evils being perpetrated by their so-called leaders is to try and hijack a live broadcast themselves, mainly the New Year's Eve broadcast, live from Times Square. Hey, is Dick Clark still alive in this timeline? I bet he is. The mission was supposed to be simple, but everything quickly ends up going tits up after the Thunderbolts strike. Cap and his team are taken by surprise and were reminded that while these defenders are definitely motivated, most of them are just kids. Also, despite Cap having the costume and the super soldier serum again, he still admits that he's feeling his age, especially in his old man knees. Several of the defenders end up getting shot during the attack, but thankfully Cap is able to take control of the airwaves just long enough to transfer his message. And it's a pretty classic Captain America message. He says how the Starks and New Shield are lying to the people that their freedom is coming at a truly terrible cost, and the only way that they can take down the villains is if they all wake up and band together, before eventually all the good guys are forced to make a tactical retreat. The interesting thing is that when Bullseye's daughter actually has the chance to pull the trigger on Cap during all the chaos, she seemingly chooses not to do it. Almost as if Cap's words did actually manage to reach a target, just not the person he was expecting. And here's the thing, Bullseye's daughter is actually maybe one of the only people who actually responded positively to what Cap had to say. As we learn later, this stunt may actually have only made people more fervently loyal to New Shield. Apparently people don't like it when you shatter their illusions, when you try and show them the faces of those who suffer for their splendors and creature comforts. Perhaps Cap begins to think to himself that Jimmy Stark was right, that the world really has left him behind, that there really is no need for heroes like him anymore. And hey, speaking of Jimmy, we actually learn a rather interesting thing about him this issue. We know that he's been keeping his dad's head alive to steal information from him on how to build better, stronger armors for the military. But in an unexpected twist, Jimmy doesn't actually ever want to wear an armor himself, saying they're nothing but killing machines. It's actually the younger Jarvis, though, who pushes him, saying that perhaps the only way they'll be able to bring Captain America to heel is if he's forced to fight the son of one of his old friends in an armor. Which, damn, that's a pretty insidious thing for the young Jarvis to say. I mean, up until now, he has only really been concerned with making money. Why would he have such an invested interest in hurting Captain America? Well, about that. In the last issue, I never actually questioned the butler Edwin Jarvis having a younger brother, because, like, yeah, totally, that makes sense in the greater scheme of comics, but here's the thing, there actually is no younger Jarvis. That's actually the Red Skull, alive and well and masquerading in a brand new body. So you mean to tell me that jackbooted murderous cops, Silicon Valley douchebags, and actual real Nazis are all in league with each other pushing fascist agendas? Well, this truly must be a comic book fantasy, am I right? Oh, and also Ultron is alive too still. In fact, he seems to be the real brains behind this brand new regime. Needless to say, Steve Rogers is at his absolute lowest right now, but thankfully Luke Cage is here to literally and figuratively give him a slap across the face, saying now is not the time to mope around and mourn a country he doesn't recognize anymore. Now is the time to fight harder than ever before. Because it doesn't matter if they have the country on their side or not, a hero has to do what a hero has to do, and in this case it's break the back of Stark by going after their secret weapon, Tony's frozen head. And so that was Avengers Twilight issue number 2, everybody, and overall I thought this was another really solid offering from Chip Zdarsky. We get some really interesting new angles on this brand new dystopian world. Mainly, I don't think I've ever seen any story like this tackle the idea that the reason good people do nothing in these sorts of horrible dystopian situations is because ultimately they're too comfortable and they don't want to rock the boat. Even good people like Kamala Khan, who is usually always shown to be a stand-in for us, the reader, is guilty of falling into some of the traps that New Shield has set for society. I also probably should have called it way sooner that the Red Skull was alive and well. I mean, if Captain America lived this long, surely Schmidt would have done the same, and even though this is called Avengers Twilight, this is so a Captain America story. Makes me wonder if he's out here manipulating Jimmy Stark, what actually happened to Tony and Janet. Did they meet regular ends as old people, or did Schmidt give them a little nudge along? Overall, I think I'd feel comfortable giving this one a really positive 8.5 out of 10. And I'll be really interested to see where this story goes from here, especially as it continues to come out on actually a really good schedule.
Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quests. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.